Ladies and gentlemen, game one of the NFL season has been played. But that means it is officially now we are week one of the 2022 NFL season. And even though this is technically like episode 24, so happy Kobe episode, this is the true week one of the Sports Agents of Chaos's 2022 NFL season campaign. We are going to be on every single weekend, going over every single, well, as many games as we can. Let me not promise every single game because that is not going to happen. I actually have to catch myself there for a second. But we are here on a weekly basis, ladies and gentlemen. The Council of Four is back. There was only half of us last week. Technically, one of us made a cameo appearance for a brief moment, but there were really only half of us last week. But the Council of Four is back. You know what that means. We're here to have all our fun. We're here to have and talk football, and we're here to cause as much chaos as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sports Agents Chaos Podcast. Joining you, as always, on a weekly basis, myself, Iceman Jerg. With me today, of course, these fine, beautiful gentlemen and deer that I have on, on an episode-by-episode basis are here with me. Joining us from, that's not his man cave, because we actually know what his man cave looks like, and it looks sick. Lighting, we had to take a little bit of time before the show to adjust the lighting, but we are all set down there now. Justin, how are we doing today, my brother?
Doing okay. I wish I had, better lighting, I guess. Yeah, better laptop. Yeah. Whole thing. It's not adequate for what the week one celebration should be this week. And I'm sorry if I failed you guys, but we'll pick it back up here. I'll make sure we make up for it.
I mean, for how the Rams performed, it's actually more than what they deserve considering the performance they had in the opening game. So I think you're actually overperforming for the Rams fans in this one. But that's neither here nor there. Always great to have you, brother. And of course, the man himself had a break last week that had to temporarily be interrupted because one video out of the four we had didn't want to play. Podfather Rick, you're back. How are you doing this week?
Yeah, we transfers avoiding my ranting and skullduggery this week because I did find some other good ones to venture out about. But yeah, no, doing very well. I'm excited. It's officially the time of the season for chaos. I'm so thrilled about that, and all the talking kind of goes away, and now we get to have some fun. So it's all going to be good, and I'm thrilled. Wasn't very happy about Thursday's result, but you know what? I don't think any of us were, except for Sandoval maybe. But that's chaos.
Neither here nor there. And of course, Sandoval is here to do what he always does on a weekly basis, which is to be the mascot of the show, to be the stoic and calming presence we need to get through an episode, and also to just make Justin's life a living hell when it comes to the trivia portion of the show, which we will get to here momentarily. Of course, we have some trivia. We have some Would You Rather. We're going to review the Thursday Night Football game. As we said last week, Thursday Night Football is not going to be a part of the Sports Agents of Chaos Weekly Pick Challenge when it comes to the season, but we are always going to do the Thursday Night Football games right, and we are at least going to review them. I'm not sure how Rick is going to watch them, considering he has sworn off Amazon. So we will see the kind of analysis that we get from him. Myself also, because I don't have a working TV at all. So this is going to be a fun season to say the very least here for when it comes to reviewing any NFL games and picking them as well. Because later in the show, ladies and gentlemen, not the finale, we know the Rick's rants and the show always, but of course we have the debut episode of our pick challenge that we talked about last week. Had to fix up a little bit of the rules because there were some complications with stuff. AKA Sandoval ate the rule sheet, and we had to actually just completely fix everything because Sandoval, like Rome was to Carthage, is Justin's ultimate enemy, and we're well within the first war between them, and Sandoval's looking pretty good so far. So Justin's going to try to fight back this week and throughout the season when it comes to it, because Sandoval is a part of the challenge, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking, Justin's still mad about it. Speaking of the Pick'em Challenge, we are actually not going to waste any time in terms of the order. We're going to decide the order now for the wheels for the picks later in the episode, and of course the new rules we have. So of course we have to bring back everyone's favorite, especially my favorite, the Wheel of Chaos. Now you see everyone's names there. Sandoval will always get the pick of the litter in terms of getting games last out of everyone because, well, we'll discuss that later on. So it's between me, Rick, and Justin. Of course, the reason we are doing this is because we all picked the Rams last week, and the Rams got smoked. Yeah, I mean, if we're being technical, the guys that the Rams did. The Rams were closer to winning by a field goal than winning by a touchdown, so maybe it gives the two of them a slight edge over me. And I think Justin was the one that picked the Bills' score properly, so technically he has some claim to it. But no, I'm using this as an excuse to bring back the wheel because it's been way too long. So, of course, we have everyone's name there a multiple number of times because that will make deciding the first pick way more fun. Now, it also could mean that that person's name gets picked second. So we'll have to adjust that on the fly. But hey, that's what we always do around here. No ad on the wheel this week. We'll see if we get one in a moment. But gentlemen, it's time to spin the wheel of chaos.
Never been more nervous than I am right now for this.
This is a big one, especially with the new point format, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. I feel like it went longer just because there's a lot more wedges on the wheel now. So.
And the winner is, I think it's Justin.
Oh boy, I have that score right.
So let's. it goes with him at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Justin, you get the first pick. I mean, you can brag if you want to. I mean, we're not going to get into the rules later on, but if you want to, give a little bit of a tease as to why it's even better that you get the first pick this week, go ahead for the people.
It's worth more. Technically.
I mean.
Yeah.
Period. End of sentence.
Pretty good analysis there, if you ask me.
I mean, without explaining what the changes are, that's really all I could say, right?
No, you're right. You're right. That's fair. I put you in a rough spot there, so I apologize. Mainly because I had to adjust the wheel a little bit. That's why. So Justin gets the first pick. So now it's for the second pick here. There's actually still one straggler, Justin, there. So we'll see.
I see two of them.
Oh, I only saw one. So we'll see. Let's hope not.
Both first and second pick.
No, we'll just spin again.
I know exactly what's going to happen here. I really do.
We'll spin until we get rid of all the Justins on the wheel. And the second pick belongs to... That's close, but it's Rick.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting some kind of wheel chicanery because I had to miss last week. Therefore, I get to pick nothing. It's going to force me to pick some Canadian football instead of American football instead. So
no, Rick. We have more class. We would have had you predict way down the line the XFL games. Come on now.
Well, yeah. That would take me out of. That's fair. I'm still on a contract for all of 2023, so that's fine.
And 2024, 2025 option. But we have our order now, ladies and gentlemen, for later in the show. Justin gets the first pick. He gets justice by himself at the end of the day. Who knew? Rick gets the second pick. I am stuck with the third pick, but I do get back-to-back because it is a snake format. So perhaps that works in my favor at the end of the day, especially considering what the new system is. You know what? If I pick last a little bit more often, it's not the worst thing in the world. Not the worst thing in the world for me personally. So we'll see there. But that was the initial spin here with the Wheel of Chaos. Always happy to have the Wheel of Chaos. Going to make as many excuses as I can during the season to try to bring back the wheel. How many can I make up? Probably not that many because I'm not that creative, but I'll figure it out. Moving on from that. Of course, like I said, the next great game show host in America, Aaron Rodgers, watch out. You think the Jeopardy host gig is all yours when you retired? Which is what Rick's prediction for the end of the season is going to be? No. Because this man right here will challenge Aaron Rodgers for the Jeopardy host gig at some point. Because, yes, he's just that damn good. Because it's true. It's damn true. Justin, my man, it belongs to you. Why? Yes, I made a Kurt Angle reference for absolutely no reason. But Justin, it's all yours, of course. Your rival is to your, I don't know if it's to the left or to the right. My screen is messed up with it, different from the other people. But regardless, Justin, we know why you're here. You're here to beat us. You're here to beat Sandoval. Hit us with the trivia.
We'll see. This is going to be a one answer per person trivia question. So you're not going to get a whole bunch of guesses this week. And I was looking through a lot of different opening week stats, and one really caught my eye. As we all know, this is going to be the 6th year in a row that the Indianapolis Colts have a new starting quarterback. So I was wondering, can somebody tell me the last Indianapolis Colts quarterback and the year they started, the last one to win an opening day game?
So I don't have an answer. That's not why I'm muted. But this is an interesting one, Rick, because like Justin said, they have had different starting quarterbacks for a long while. Even during the Andrew Luck time, because do remember, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Luck suffered a lot of injuries because that scumbag Ryan Grigson was the general manager, and he essentially got 5 Sandovals to be the offensive line for Andrew Luck in his time in Indy. But I would argue Sandoval probably could have pass protected better than some of the offensive linemen that he got there. So
I mean, Sandoval's a better dancer than Anthony Costanzo, but that's neither here nor there. So
very true. Very true. Anthony Costanzo can be the one exception there.
Right, that's true.
So I did forget the year, but I do know the Colts have also been on a bit of a losing streak as well when it comes to opening day. So
yeah, they have been. It's interesting. It's interesting that's the narrative for a team that I think all of us had winning the AFC South this year. It's very interesting that that's the narrative that we have going into it. But
that has made the playoffs like a lot of times ever since this losing streak on opening week began. Like they're like they rarely miss the playoffs for the last like decade or so. Like they made it a good amount of times.
Yeah.
So. Is it so? This isn't my answer. So because we always get to think a little bit here.
True.
But am I overthinking it? Like, because did Andrew Luck win his opening game, Rick? I know he passed for a lot. I don't know if he won it.
But in what year is the question? Because I'm sure that Andrew Luck started a good majority of the seasons. But I think the question was, what year are we looking into here? Because, I mean, if Andrew Luck was the starting quarterback for a number of different seasons, then the matter of fact is, if we're answering also what year was it?
If you are curious, I think Andrew Luck started 1 out of the last 6 seasons.
Right. Right. A lot of injuries. But, yeah. I mean, that's why I'm trying to think here because I know he got hurt and, of course, he retired early. So that explains the last couple of years. But his rookie season, like I think he broke the rookie passing record for like most yards in a debut game because he was the number 1 overall pick and it was what draft was it? 20?
Was it 12? Was it 11 or 12?
I want to say it was 12.
Yeah, I think his first year with the Broncos was 2012, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so
2012.
Because I think Cam was the number 1 pick in 2011.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah, and then the number 1 pick of 2010 was whoever it was.
Yes.
So my first guess, I mean, we all only get one here, so this will be interesting here. My immediate guess would probably be rookie season Andrew Luck. That would be it for me. So, and also just to get the show rolling here, so we can keep going. I'll submit that as mine. So, Justin, my answer submission is Andrew Luck in what his rookie season was, which, from memory for all of us, is 2012.
He was drafted in 2012.
Yeah, so you would have played
2013.
Well, no, the draft happens in April, so 2012 season.
Oh, well, I'm pretty sure he was drafted in 2013. That's the year that the last time that the Colts have won an opening day game, 2013, with Andrew Luck.
Oh, so I got the right quarterback, just not the right year. But hey, let's go. Look at that. Look at that. We didn't even need Sandoval.
That's there you go. I mean, it's amazing when you think about it. Like I said, you go through all the different like iterations of who the Colts have had as their opening day quarterbacks or even their starting quarterbacks at a certain aspect, and the fact that it's that long ago is surprising in a way, and then not as surprising because if you think about like Carson Wentz last year, probably wasn't going to get the win. Rivers, while Philip Rivers was a good quarterback, might not have been the same case the year prior. And then,
against the Jaguars that year.
Yeah.
No, with the Rivers.
No,
I'm saying like we're just naming like the previous starting quarterbacks. Like there was also
they should have won with Rivers.
Oh,
Jaguars. They went 1-15 that year.
I mean, I was hoping against hope that it would be like a weird quarterback year, and then I realized that the bridge between Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck was Kerry Collins, and he was god awful.
And Curtis Painter.
Well, yes, but I think Kerry Collins started that year.
Right.
Yeah,
but
Curtis
just
Painter,
the quarterbacks. It was Kerry Collins, Curtis Painter, and current ESPN NFL analyst, and really good at ESPN NFL analyst Dan Orlovsky.
Oh, he's phenomenal. Love him.
Yeah. Pat, it's funny. Pat always jokes around saying that because Orlovsky, I guess he was the quarterback that won them their 2 games that season.
Yeah.
He was like some people in management were probably upset because he was getting close to costing them the first pick.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Imagine you lose out on Andrew Luck because Dan Orlovsky just becomes a stud.
Dan Orlovsky can run out of every end zone for the rest of his life in that regard.
As that veiled shot at Orlovsky goes, we have completed yet another round of trivia right there. And once again, didn't even need to get to Sandoval. I don't know, Justin, do you want to give us another one, try to stump us, or how we look
That's
at
up to you guys. I
Great.
have another one if you want.
Let's roll with it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, let me bring that back up then.
Well, consider this one the makeup for last week because we didn't have one last week.
True.
Okay. What team has the most all-purpose yards in a single season?
Team. Most all-purpose yards.
Yep.
That's interesting. Huh. So you got to think about it like this. You got to think about in the aspect of it being all-purpose. Where are you going to get the most yards from? I think you're going to get the most yards from passing.
Right.
So it's got to be a team that's had a lot of quarterback play. But the question is, what team has had the best quarterback play? To get those yardages and because if you're thinking about it, like obviously the year that Chris Johnson ran for 2,000 yards, the passing wasn't there,
right?
And even pre Pat Mahomes, Kansas City had Dante Hall in the return game, but I think their quarterback game wasn't as strong. Alex Smith I think was okay, but I don't know if he was there. It might have been Elvis Gerback at that point, and that's a name that I never thought I'd ever say on this podcast ever. But there we go.
It was also like with Alex Smith, like I think Jamal Charles only had one healthy season with Alex Smith there, and then because it almost got to a point where it would go in between, where like he'd be healthy, then he got hurt, then he was healthy, then he got hurt, and then it just was nothing.
Yeah, even the Bears, Devin Hester,
right,
had a lot of return, but again, that was also Caleb Haney was their quarterback, Rex Grossman for a bit, and that ain't gonna win you anything more than a milkshake at Dairy Queen. So that was here and there.
Which if only they had a good quarterback, because it was Matt Forte and Devin Hester carrying 2/3 of that. If only you had a quarterback there.
Facts. I have two teams in mind, Jurg, and I'm gonna pinball off of you and see what you think about this. Greatest show on turf, Rams.
That's a good one. That was the first one that popped in my mind.
Yeah, and then I don't know the year. I don't want to say Super Bowl year, but maybe Super Bowl Saints.
Ooh.
Or maybe the Saints in another year, because I feel like Drew Brees was a constant 5,000 shout.
Right.
And I feel like even if the running game wasn't spectacular or the return game wasn't as great, you still have a leg up because of how many yards Drew Brees threw for.
Right. Well, it's also because Drew Brees has 4 or 5,000 yard passing seasons.
Yeah.
Reggie Bush, the thing was, he was a literally do it all back. He did. Right. He never had one of his 1,000 yard seasons rushing in New Orleans, but he did catch the ball, and I'm almost certain he had to return a lot. So actually, I think the Super Bowl champion year Saints, that's not a bad shout there.
What year was that?
It was the 2009 season, wasn't it? Or
was it? No, it wasn't 2009, was it?
Was it 2010?
2010. Was it 10 going into 11?
What was the season where the Colts went 14-2 and made the Super Bowl? Because remember, they beat the Colts in the Super Bowl.
Right. That was it was 2009. You're right. It was 2009.
So, because that was the infamous Colts team that had a young Pat McAfee, and also apparently could have gone undefeated, but management was forcing Jim Caldwell to sit guys in the last.
That's right. That's right.
Which everyone on that team swears up and down that they could have and should have gone undefeated that year. Which honestly, I'm not going to doubt it because it was maybe
not a bad shout. Yeah. So maybe it's the 2009 Saints then. I know we're not really going for year because I think we're just talking about team. But
the year is important because there's lots of good teams that could have had really good seasons, and the years But in the interest of time, I'm going to say everyone gets 2 guesses for this one.
Okay. So I'll start. I'll go with the first one. Let's just go with the greatest show on turf, Rams that ended up winning the Super Bowl in what I believe was the 1999 regular season, right?
It was 99-2000, yeah.
Yeah. So the 1999 greatest show on turf, Rams.
No.
Do you have a full list, or do you just have the number 1 team? I'm curious.
I am bringing up the full list as we speak.
Copy.
You know who else it might have been? It could have been, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco in the 90s. Steve Young, Jerry Rice.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good combination.
Right.
When were they at their best? Actually, they weren't their best when they didn't win the Super Bowl. So they won the Super Bowl in 95. But
Right.
they were better later because Rice really came into his own. I'm going to go with the 1998.
What year was the British Show on Turf? 2000?
Yeah.
They were third on the list with 7,075 yards.
Okay.
Sheesh.
So I have the Saints in my back pocket here. So I'm gonna try and go for a runner. I'm gonna say the 98 49ers.
The 1998 49ers are not on my list.
Okay. Wow.
I lied. They are, but they're not in the top 10.
They're not in the top 10. That would make sense. Okay.
Don't tempt us, Justin. We'll somehow name the top 20 without trying. Apparently,
that is true.
That's
That
all
is
we
true.
do.
So we have the 09 Saints as a backup play just in case.
This is in part because of lack of memory here, Rick, because we're talking about passing yards being a big thing here.
Yeah.
I think they had a 1,000-yard rusher in this season. I want to say it was the 2013 Broncos where like Peyton had like the 5,000 plus yards, the 55 touchdowns. Who was their returner that year? Because they had to have had a 1,000-yard back. I think they did, but I don't remember their return game that year. And I think the return game could cost because they had the passing yards.
I know who their back was. I remember who their back was because I don't remember who was their returner, but I remember their back was Noshawn Marino.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember who their returner was.
But
I feel like even that if Noshawn had over 1,000 yards and Peyton was at like 52, 53, then all you would need is 700-800 yards returning, and that's kick and punt returning too.
Right.
So that might be a decent shout. I don't know who it was, but that might be a decent shout.
Because they're the main one. Because the only in terms of other teams that had that kind of production, you have the Saints in your back pocket. I think. Because I'm also trying to think of a team that had a good defense as well, and Denver had a pretty good defense in within that span.
Yeah,
they improved it after that Super Bowl appearance, but they still had a decent enough defense.
Bless you.
But did the 07 Patriots, could they be in the discussion, or is it just all Brady in that one? Do you think?
They might be because 07.
Because that was a 16-0.
They brought in random backs too, like Corey Dillon, I think was there too. So they might be. The thing is, I don't know about their special teams.
That's what I like.
Yeah, that might be because the only special team guy that I remember from them, aside from two, Izzo and Slater, but they weren't returners. They were blockers.
Yeah.
Do you guys want a hint?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure.
So because you guys keep bringing up return yards, of the top 5 offenses that had the most total yards, 4 out of the 5 of them have broken 1,000 return yards.
Oh man.
What's his name? What's his name?
The funniest part is that the 5th team that doesn't have the 1,000 return yards had the most return touchdowns with 9.
Wow,
what's the name of the guy that I'm thinking of here?
Do you know what team?
Yeah, it's Saints, but it's not 09.
Wait.
Darren Sproles.
Right. Oh my
Darren
God,
Sproles.
Darren Sproles.
Darren Sproles. But was he on the team in 09?
I don't think so.
So then it has to be past 09.
He wasn't on that Super Bowl team?
I don't believe he was. I think he was still on the Chargers back then.
Right, because he was a Charger before he became a Saint.
He was on the Chargers afterwards.
Was he? I thought it was before.
I don't know.
I thought it was Chargers, Saints, Eagles. I thought that's what that was his direction.
Let's see.
If only we knew the years for Darren Sproles, Rick, then that would be a good shout. because him on the Saints plus Drew Brees plus the running game. That's a very good bet on who it will be.
Right.
All right. We have to keep the ship rolling, so I'm going to just go with a guess because we still have Sandoval.
We do.
So I'm gonna. I'll take the. Wait, hold on. What if we both say Saints teams here, Rick, and I just go with a different year? Like
possible.
That's a strategy.
It's
technically good.
Well, that's the thing. Do we believe in the Saints? Because your Broncos shout wasn't that bad either in 2013.
Right. That's just the problem is I can't think of because here's the thing. First off, I hope to this day Eric Decker and Julius Thomas send Peyton Manning thank you cards because he got both of them paid after their Broncos tenure.
Especially Julius Thomas.
Oh my God, he made
nothing afterwards.
To be fair, Eric Decker's wife is a country singer, so she probably got some more money too. So
true, but still, like he got everyone on that team paid.
Yeah,
he even he had Wes Welker for a spell on the Broncos as well. It's still such a crime that Wes Welker played with Brady and Peyton and never got a Super Bowl win.
Wow,
never got a Super Bowl win because he left. I think he retired before they won the Super Bowl. So. Which is crazy.
So what year are you thinking, Jerk, for the Saints then?
Because in my mind, I'm trying to remember Drew Brees' regular seasons. I want to say the year of the second Giants Super Bowl, there were like 4 quarterbacks that threw for 5,000 yards. I think Drew Brees was one of them. So you have a 5,000-yard Drew Brees. You still had Marcus Colston. You had a running game that I think at least a rookie Mark Ingram was a part of. And then I think Darren Sproles had to have been there by that point.
Yeah. So what was that, 11?
I think it was. Yeah, 2011 for me is one of those football seasons that just like sticks. And I remember the passing yards that season were like we think this current era is absurd. No. Like the 2011 season, I'm pretty sure had like 3 or 4 or 5,000 yards.
But that was also Sproles in his prime in an offense with Brees, who was in his prime.
Exactly.
That would be a good shot. That would be a good shot.
So
Marcus,
I will.
Foster, baby.
My second guess will be the 2011 New Orleans Saints.
Jurg, in 2011 is the year that Darren Sproles did join the New Orleans Saints and was their return guy. Mark Ingram was not on the official roster as per Wikipedia. However, the Saints were the all-time all-purpose yards leader, setting the record that year with 7,474 yards in a 16-game season, 66 total passing yards. And by the way, that Broncos team in 2013, they were in second place, 7,317 yards and 76 all-purpose touchdowns.
Wow. Yeah.
What mad lads they were back in the day, eh?
It's impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Oh, God. All the offense, they just never had the defense after that Super Bowl.
See, and you can't be mad, Justin, because it was us that got it. It wasn't your arch nemesis, so they were good questions too.
I don't mind when you guys get the question right. Just got to step it up next week. It's all good.
Yeah,
it's just that damn deer.
Just that damn deer.
Oh my goodness, Justin, you made us work on these trivias, man. Well done. This is why I say you are America's next great game show host, because you make the contestants work for it. Speaking of making us have high brain activity, let's go to a little bit of would you rather. Well, still got to think, but we get to take a step back. We get to calm down here, boys. We get to have a little bit of fun, have more opinions. If you have an opinion on the would you rather games, please let us know. Justin's given us some great would you rathers. I think we're going to have more of those, especially during the season, because now that we're going to recap games, best believe we're going to criticize some teams in these would you rathers as well. So that's coming hot and ready. But Justin, this is the next game, NFL would you rather. What we got this week?
All right. So in preparation for our pick'em, I was looking at a lot of different games, and I was curious, who do you think is going to win? I'm sorry, which team, home underdog team, do you think has a better chance of winning their opening day game? The Cardinals hosting the Chiefs, or the Cowboys hosting the Bucs?
Well, so here's my thing. Those people that know me know that I like to stick to whatever picks that I've made in the past. And even though I'm not a fan of the fact that I made this pick in the past, I'm going to stay with my laurels here. I'm going to stay with what I said. My sleeper pick for the NFC West was that the Cardinals were going to win Week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's what I'm going to go with. Now, Arizona is definitely hamstrung by the fact that they don't have DeAndre Hopkins there, and I believe Rondale Moore is also hurt too. I think that's going to be a significant problem with them. My thing is that I like this Arizona defense. I think that they're a good unit, and I think that they can probably do just enough to confound Patrick Mahomes, who's got not as much on the offensive side that he used to have. I think if you're looking at guys like that secondary with Budda Baker and Marco Wilson, if he can keep his shoes on, which he didn't do in college, but it's not here nor there. I think they actually have a really good linebacking core. I like Isaiah Simmons. As I mentioned, I love Cameron Thomas and Zayvon Collins out of Tulsa. I think this defense has a lot working for it in the right direction. I think if Vance Joseph can draw up a couple of good plays here and there, I don't think they have to win by much, but I think they just have to win. You got to get the win there. And I think that this is a team that has enough weapons on offense to counter Kansas City's strengths, but also exploit their weaknesses, especially because Kansas City did lose some people in the secondary there too. So mine was Arizona. That's what I'm sticking with. I'm going to roll with that, roll the dice on the Cardinals and on Cliff Kingsbury at Week 1 because Kansas City also doesn't have Week 1 Sammy Watkins. Therefore, I feel safe.
Week 1 Sammy Watkins is the biggest thing right there.
Yes.
And that gives the Packers a good chance at potentially winning their game this week.
Yes.
So generally speaking, I actually do agree with Rick here because I think the circumstances on both sides fit. I think the Chiefs still need a little bit of time to figure out things offensively because it is a lot of new weapons. And I also think that defense needs to figure out because like Rick said, that secondary is probably the weakest, maybe the weakest in the division as a whole. And considering what that division has become passing-wise, I think that's a big thing. You have that. I think it's still relatively some decent pieces there, but I think the defense, they need to take not just a step up, they need to take several steps up in regards to it. So I think you have that. I think you have the Chiefs offense, which, they can carry a bad defense. Let's be real here. But I think it'll take them a little bit of time because of all the new weapons. Whereas on the Cardinals, yes, they are missing some guys, but you still have Kyler Murray, who, if assuming he's healthy, healthy Kyler Murray is the best Kyler Murray from what we've seen on a sample size. And also, this is the biggest thing. It's the first game of the season. It's the first half of the season. That means that the Cliff Kingsbury curse is not in effect. If this was week 10, 11, 12, I think the Cardinals are in trouble. But because it's week 1, that gives the Cardinals the best chance here. So my official pick would be the Cardinals. If I had to try to play devil's advocate for the other side when it comes to why the Cowboys could potentially beat the Bucs, I just think right now things are looking real shaky in Tampa Bay. The offensive line is dinged up. Brady missed some time because he had to step away. Who knows where I know he's Tom Brady, but Week 1, where everyone's mortal. So could Brady probably falter in Week 1? Yeah, and their defense also has a couple question marks about it because they lost some secondary, at least a piece or two. They lost a couple of veterans that they had from that Super Bowl team a few years ago. Tampa still has some questions here. It feels like the three teams that have been the top teams in the NFC for the last 2 years, we all have questions now going into the beginning portions of the season about them. The Packers, the Bucs, and the Rams, we now have questions about all three of them. The Rams mainly because of that first game, but we had questions about the Packs and Bucs going into Week 1, and I don't it would take convincing performances to get us to think otherwise there. So, but my official pick is Cardinals over Chiefs would be the more likely one.
I will say, I know it's Tom Brady, but 40-something years old, missing extended time in training camp, and they don't have the same offensive line as they did last year. A lot of people are picking against them. But either way, let's move on to our next question, and it's going to center around new quarterbacks, and not necessarily how they'll perform, but who do you think is going to have the best Week 1 performance with a new quarterback under center? Is it going to be Terry McLaurin or Deontay Johnson?
So
both teams have acquired new quarterbacks in the offseason. The Washington Commanders, who will christen that name tomorrow, are now starting Carson Wentz, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are now starting Mitchell Trubisky. So it's kind of almost an even split at quarterback. We'll see who does what. But which receiver is going to have the better game week 1 with the new quarterback? Deontay Johnson or Terry McLaurin? I know when I pick a good question because both of you guys go.
Fair.
I'm just trying to think of the other weapons.
If it's a really good question, I gotta. Oh wow.
We have a sliding scale.
I think for me, and bias notwithstanding, as you guys know, I think Mitch Trubisky is going to have a lot tougher of a game than people realize. I mean, Cincinnati's defense is swarming, and that's going to leave Trubisky, who's got a relatively younger offensive line than I think Washington's got, to really try and worry about guarding B.J. Hill and guarding especially that monster Trey Hendrickson. So I think it's more a matter of Trubisky not being able to get the ball out of his hands, and also, Pittsburgh. It's a brand new offense, really. It's obviously Mike Tomlin's offense, but it's a brand new quarterback who's got to work on the timing with brand new receivers. I mean, if you ask me, if
it's an argument for either side, though, that's
you
that's
could
the whole
sure
point of the question.
Sure. Well, except Terry McLaurin, I think, kind of has established himself more as the number one, whereas Pittsburgh could probably have George Pickens be the number one after week 1, and no one would bat an eye about it, because I feel like he's the guy that's going to really be the target going in to week 1. So if it were
just to play devil's advocate to your Cincinnati point, their secondary struggled last year. I mean, they had some players play above their standard, but when they played against good teams, they couldn't stop receivers. So all you got to do is make sure that you defend against that bull rush, which, don't get me wrong, that's much easier said than done against Cincinnati. But listen, they got to throw over the top. Najee Harris will keep that defense honest, and they're really going to have to defend more than one receiver there. Deontay Johnson being the one that's experienced and has the most experience at the number 1 level.
So the outside intangibles are kind of what throws it for me. I mean, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati is a divisional game to start off your season. There's definitely bad blood there. There's definitely a lot more riding on it. Washington's playing Jacksonville. I mean, maybe 10 people are going to watch that game, in the stands as well as on TV. So, I mean, for me, I think really this is kind of Terry McLaurin's big game, because this is a guy who many people are saying probably will be a big free agent next year or will be on that market next year. So why not show yourself off with a big stretch? Carson Wentz has shown that he can be a solid quarterback. I'm not going to say good. I'm going to say solid, C+. Whereas Trubisky, you're still hoping for it. So to me, I think Terry McLaurin might have the better game. I don't know if it's going to be by a whole lot, but I think it's going to be sizable enough that he'll probably be the better of the two receivers going into week 2, I think.
Yeah, well, I will say this. McLaurin actually did get paid back in July. He got a 3-year, $71 million contract.
Means nothing.
True. But, I will say McLaurin, because kind of to Rick's point, with Deontay Johnson, there is the potential that Trubisky may just not get that football out a lot, because like we kind of mentioned, like of the aspects of their defensive step up, it was the Bengals pass rush that really took that next level in the playoffs, and their pieces are still there. And just the Steelers did nothing to that offensive line. Like they didn't add a big name. They didn't add a big prospect. It was very disappointing from that aspect of things. Najee Harris is still going to have to fight for his life to just get a single rushing yard before contact. That's what it's going to be. I think for the first half of last season, he led the league in getting hit before even getting to the line of scrimmage. Insane. So the Steelers, I have my thoughts about Mike Tomlin personally, but I think it's going to be more of a struggle for the Steelers, whereas compared to what Washington has to deal with, there is hope in Jacksonville. I will give them credit. I think Doug Peterson, of course, it's not much to say you're going to be better than Urban Meyer, but at the same time, it's a lot better culture there. I think Doug Peterson has really empowered his players and given them more of a team feel than that scumbag did last year. So there is that. But at the same time, I think you have a guy in Carson Wentz, like Rick says, is fine. Like, their last couple seasons, I think Carson Wentz has thrown exactly 7 interceptions, 3 years in a row or 3 of the last 4 years. Carson Wentz takes relatively good care of the football, and Terry McLaurin has 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Was 900 something yards his rookie season, so he actually almost has 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons. I would give the slight nod to Scary Terry there, but I will say though, Deontay Johnson, he is a very good guy. I will say I was happy that he did get paid because Steelers sometimes really don't pay their guys early, and the fact they did for Deontay Johnson, well deserved. But I have to give the slight edge to Scary Terry. I think he's been the number 1 in Washington, I think, since midway through his rookie season.
I will say one thing too. Deontay Johnson's going to be handcuffed by Chase Claypool because you know that in a crunched minute of the game, Claypool's going to make a first down catch and go into a minute-long can on the sidelines with the cheerleaders, and they're not going to be able to get a playoff. So Johnson will lose out on that because Chase Claypool will just celebrate nonstop,
taking time off the board.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
And it'll be a damn good can, but you're losing the game, Chase.
McLaurin will have more time because his receivers aren't going to celebrate after catches as much. That matters.
Exactly.
All right. You guys want one more, or are we wrapping up?
Do we have one where it's week 1, we could save it, or should we just use it here, all things considered?
It's a week 1 question, but it could be asked next week.
Yeah, let's save
Come
it.
up with more. Doesn't matter. Whatever you guys want.
Let's save it.
Yeah, let's save it.
Okay.
We'll have plenty of fun in future weeks for sure.
Of course.
For sure. Speaking of fun, we all, of course, had fun with the NFL season returning, ladies and gentlemen, with Game 1 happening. But we know the Rams didn't have that much fun. They got shellacked. They got roughshotted. They got just absolutely bombarded in the second half. The first half, it was actually a much closer game, all things considered. It was 10-10 going into halftime. Both teams were playing pretty sloppy, multiple turnovers. I think both teams combined for 4 or 5 turnovers in that first half. Not clean. Not a clean football game. But then things just went the Bills' way. Took the lead in the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, 2 touchdowns with a Josh Allen run and a Stephon Diggs 53-yard passing TD. Stephon Diggs had a big game, as did Cooper Kupp. But at the end of the day, it was the Los Angeles Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions, falling to the Buffalo Bills 31-10. Now, as Rick said earlier, all 3 of us picked the Rams here. Bills weren't having none of that, which means the Bills are probably going to be even better than what we expect. But in all seriousness, in all actuality, what an opening game for the Buffalo Bills. Of course, it was a sloppy first half, like we said, on both sides. But really, I think the first half, the Buffalo Bills were the team that the turnovers were costing more so, I think, compared to the Rams. If you just look at the play-by-play of the first half, you have an interception on their second drive of the game. You force a punt, but then you fumble the ball. You get an interception against the Rams. And then before the last score of the game, which was a Rams field goal to tie it, you also had another interception. So Josh Allen wasn't playing at his best in that first half, right? And that's kind of been a thing, even going back to last season. Josh Allen because they lost the first game of last season to the Steelers of all teams. Josh Allen can play up and down. He played way more up in that second half compared to anything else. And that was big for the Bills in that opening contest. Justin, what were your thoughts on you go the overall scope of the game, but how the Bills has just really handled the Rams in that second half?
Well, it's a statement win. Like I said last week, the Bills were disappointing last year. I think that they maybe thought they were at that point without actually earning being at that point. They had the team. Everyone was picking them to do well. They had the roster ready to go. They had an easier schedule. And frankly, they just didn't live up to expectations. They're not having that this year. This Bills team is not messing around. Sean McDermott is not messing around. And it really looks like they addressed some of those needs that I spoke about last week. I mean, their run defense was excellent. I mean, it doesn't hurt when the starting running back only has 3 carries and they use their backup, Darnell Henderson, which, again, is not bad for me because he's on my fantasy team. But you got to have a better showing. Joseph Noteboom looked like he is not the replacement for Andrew Whitworth. They had Stafford running for his life, and the Bills made a statement win there. Von Miller looked amazing, and they really addressed some of those major concerns they had. I don't know about the secondary without Tre'Davious White, but he'll be back soon. And that team's going to get even better, which is scary.
Very, very fair. And I think you bring it up. I know I mainly focus on the offense for my spiel going into it, But it really was that Bills defense that made the difference, even with missing a couple pieces there. Like you said, Von Miller had 2 sacks.
We knew the offense was going to be all right. I mean, the running game is still, it is what it is. Devin Singletary actually did look a lot better than he did at points last season. He was there running guys over. Josh Allen always running the ball, keeps the defense honest. But the real issue was, are they able to stop the Rams? And they didn't. That Rams team should be worried about their running game because the offensive line didn't look nearly as good as last year, and those running backs don't seem to be cutting it.
Right. And especially for a Sean McVay team, being in the same echelon, per se, in like Kyle Shanahan, where it's like you believe he can get a running game going out of thin air, wasn't able to do that. Like, I mean, I know you guys are on the internet. I saw all the memes about the whole Cam Akers thing. I thought at first Cam Akers got hurt again. I'm like, yo, this would just suck. It turns out he just had no yards, and they just stopped playing him, which is really an odd decision for Sean McVay. But in regards to that, like you mentioned, Justin, the defense really stepping up for this Buffalo Bills team was a big point. And guys are going to get healthy in that secondary. Tre'Davious White will be back. Their safety tandem wasn't 100% either. What I think it was Jordan Poyer was a little bit dinged up going into the game. The fact that they were only 50% healthy in terms of what their full secondary could be, and they played that well. Granted, Cooper Kupp still had a game, but he's going to do that to almost anyone.
Yeah, like Cooper Kupp's going to do that.
Exactly. You'll take Cooper Kupp going 100+ yards on you. You still win that game. So that goes without saying. Rick, throw it over to you. Of course, we talked about the Bills in this, and you can continue if we missed anything on the Bills. But I want you to take it from the Rams side of things, Rick, because like Justin said, the offensive line did not perform. They really underperformed, of course, more than anything. And Matthew Stafford, I believe, 3 interceptions in this one. Not a great opening one, especially because all the doubts. And Rick, you fairly pointed out as we were going into the season, maybe is Matthew Stafford not what we think in terms of being healthy going into this year? Give us your thoughts on all that from this game.
The loss of Andrew Whitworth to his retirement proved to be catastrophic for this Rams offensive line. Stafford got sacked 7 times in that game, along with 3 interceptions. So he was constantly under siege because this team just did not have a real core leader on that O-line to kind of help out in that process there. So for my money, the Rams were never in this game. I mean, the score was 10-10 at half, but the Rams just looked like a totally different team than what we saw last year. And maybe that's an Odell Beckham thing. Maybe that's an Andrew Whitworth thing. Maybe that's, all the hype that they had. I don't know what it was.
Von Miller thing.
It could be a Von Miller thing. Absolutely. It could absolutely be a Von Miller thing. Bobby Wagner played very well in his first game with the Rams. I think that was a nice stretch. And obviously Cooper Kupp's the main target. But the thing about it is that if Cooper Kupp gets 13 catches and 128 yards, which he got, and the rest of your team manages to get almost half of that total or just doubles it, that's not good because that makes your offense one-dimensional, and that's exactly what the Rams were. I mean, after Cooper Kupp, your next most catches were by Tyler Higbee, your tight end, with 5, and Darrell Henderson, your running back, with 5. So the Bills did a really nice job of shutting down the secondary options, but Allen Robinson could not get free. And I think that a lot had to do also with the pressure that was getting put on in this game. I will say this, going into the halftime break, that I thought there was a little bit of confidence going forward. The Bills turned the ball over and the Rams had an opportunity, but that there was a huge sack on Stafford in that contest. I think there was, I don't forget what it was. He was sacked at 1st and 10 with 34 seconds to go. They lost 9 yards. They were at the Buffalo 39 or whatever, and they lost the yardage. AJ Epinesa, mentioned him, had to have a big game. He had a big game. And the Rams managed a 57-yard field goal. Excellent by Matt Gay that you got the 57-yarder, but that just tied it in for me, really. That was more of the thing where the Bills were able to capitalize on the Rams' mistakes. The Rams could not do the same thing. They went backwards instead of forwards. And it was a stark contrast from the Rams team that we saw last year. And I don't know whether that was, again, the pieces that were missing, the Whitworth, Miller, the Beckham, even a new offensive coordinator, because Kevin O'Connell was maybe a little more creative last year. But this Rams team looked like a shell of their former self, and I think that was a significant problem going in. And I think it's a harbinger. It really is. I mean, you can say, oh, it's one game. It's not the end of the world for them. Really? Because after Atlanta, you got to go to Arizona and to San Francisco. And this offense doesn't look right.
Right.
And that could be a problem going forward.
It very much could be. In regards to you kind of mentioned it there. I was going to go into the next portion of it where the Rams next week they get the Falcons, that could be their little bit more tune-up of a game to just get things back going. I wanted to think because again, Rick, like you mentioned the elbow. Both of you and Justin keyed in on that. Like as we were going into this, do you like both of your guys' opinions? Rick, you could say first. Do you think the 3 interceptions was that Stafford not looking as good, or was it just in that game in particular because of all the pressure the Bills were creating? Stafford maybe just took like too many bad risks there.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is bad chances and unfortunate incidences. I mean, they had an opportunity in the first half to put some points on the board after Buffalo fumbled the ball away, and 2 plays later, Stafford's looking for Higbee short, and Dane Jackson picks it off. I don't know whether that's an elbow thing or is more of a bad decision making sort of thing. And then obviously, as you get later on in the game with the interceptions that he had later on, that's more of a forcing the ball and trying to rally your team back, because in that second half it was punt, touchdown, and with the snap of the fingers, the Rams were down 24-10. And so when you're down by that much, you start forcing the ball a little bit. And that's kind of what happened there. The Bills were eating up the clock in the second half. I think their first 2 drives were combined 11 minutes, almost 12 minutes of clock time gone. So in a half where you have 30 minutes, that means that you've basically lost about 40% of your time. That's 2/5 of your time gone because the Bills ate up the clock, charged down the field, scored 2 touchdowns, and put you down in the 2-score hole. And so, yeah, you're going to force it. And that's the matter. The first half the interception was just a bad throw. The second half, INTs were rushing and were forcing things because Stafford was playing from behind, like he did in Detroit all those years. And look what happened. It just didn't work out for him.
Right. Matthew Stafford is not foreign to the concept of being down by 2 scores in a game. He's got plenty of experience with that. Justin, a similar thing to you. Like, any thoughts about Stafford from compared to like what Rick said, and also after that? So we kind of mentioned with the Rams getting the Falcons, some worries, but they have I think the perfect team to be able to bounce back against. The Bills, on the other hand, they go up against the Tennessee Titans next week. And Derrick Henry, in his career, is pretty good against the Buffalo Bills, all things considered. So first on Stafford, Justin, any last thoughts on him? And then talk about how big this win was for the Bills now going into that Tennessee game with a team that has been notorious. Like, they've had their number the last few years, the Titans have.
It's become quite a rivalry. I'll touch on Stafford first. Listen, am I worried about Stafford? Yeah, a little bit, but I'm not worried about the Rams as a whole. Let's give credit to what is a great defense. I mean, even without Tre'Davious White, they have a really strong secondary. They've really worked on getting that pass rush and that run defense down. Von Miller was proved to be week 1 just a humongous addition. So far, worth every cent with the way he's played. And you gotta give credit where credit is due. The offensive line was rough, and the running game was rough. And it's hard to be a good quarterback without those 2 things. So, yeah, they put the ball in Stafford's hands a little too much. They came away with some major things. Because also, Rick's right. There was 2 huge missed opportunities in the first half when they had the ball in Bills territory. 1, they threw an interception, didn't even have a chance at points. And 2, he got sacked for 10 yards, pushed him out of field goal range, and they end up punting. That completely changes the game. Let's say they get 2 field goals. Let's say they get 1 field goal. A 13-10 lead going into halftime is way different than being 10-10 with 2 turnovers and, not really looking your best, especially against a strong team like the Bills. And I think it's, again, a huge win, a huge statement win to start off with the Bills. I look forward to next week's matchup with the Titans because they're really going to have to prove now it wasn't just because Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson were behind a rough offensive line. It was because they have that nasty rush defense that they've been trying to work on for the last 4 years by drafting defensive linemen over and over and over again, much to my dismay, with Ed Oliver and Boogie Basham and AJ Epinesa and all of these guys. And now they have Von Miller, and I'm worried about the Jets. So,
well,
they do even twice a year.
Even before this game, you definitely would have been worried about that. But also, shout out Gregory Rousseau. He had a sack in this one. I was a big fan of him coming out the draft, and I'm very. I hope this is a big year for him personally. I'm a big Gregory Rousseau guy. So there's that. Rick, you have any final thoughts on Bro, I mean, I think you said everything about the Rams. Do you have any final thoughts about the Bills and what this win could mean for them? Especially again, like that Tennessee game next week is a big early season one.
Yeah, well, I think it's a big key for Buffalo to kind of get their rushing game right. I think because you're going into a Tennessee team that's got some good linebacking core in Bud Dupree and Zach Cunningham next week. So you have to make sure your running game is not just Josh Allen scrambling. Like Devin Singletary probably has to kind of muscle up and get the Derrick Henry-like performance to really help out with that, because otherwise Jeffrey Simmons is coming for Josh Allen, and it ain't going to be pretty. So, but again, it was a great win for the Bills. It was a win they needed. Way back when we talked about Buffalo needed to go in and make a statement because they were a team that everyone was saying they're going to the Super Bowl, and their first game was against the defending Super Bowl champions in their house, and they bit the head off the bat like Ozzy Osbourne did at halftime. So it worked out pretty well.
Amazing reference right there. Yeah, I'm totally with you guys. I think this was certainly a big statement win for the Bills in this one. A potential, like we talked about, a potential Super Bowl like preview. It could be the Bills that win round one of maybe could they meet down the line? Who knows? But it was a big one, especially I think the big thing was limiting the Rams' rushing attack as a whole. The defenses together was amazing, but I think limiting the Rams' rushing was big because, like you said, Justin, this has been a process for this Bills team to try to go up against rushing teams. You think of not last year, because obviously last year them losing to the Chiefs. The year before when they made it to the AFC Championship game, it was the Colts playoff game that they barely won. It came down to the final throw of that game with Phillip Rivers on a 4th and goal because that was rookie Jonathan Taylor running all over that team. And last season, we saw the Bills struggle quite a bit when it came to facing rushing opponents. And also, going back a year again real quick, in that game where it came down, or in that run to the AFC title game, there was that Ravens game where Lamar got hurt. And it was still a 1-score game at the end because just rushing defense has been the biggest Achilles heel to the Bills the last couple of seasons. If they could show some signs, especially against Derrick Henry and the Titans of all teams, that to me is the biggest thing going. Especially because, as I've said on the show, F the Titans. So if the Bills win, I'm only going to be a bigger fan of them from there. Love Derrick Henry. Hate the rest of that organization. That quarterback as well. So big time win for the Bills. Rams, to me personally, I think it's between, wow, that was a really bad game, but also it was just a game. Like I said, Falcons to me are the best possible like tune-up. Like it's like in the UFC games where it's like you have to build your way up when you start your career in like the career mode, and you get like at least in the early ones they had like types of like not types of matches, but like in theory it's like a tune-up fight. Like this is you're going against like the lowest guy in the rankings. That's what the Falcons are to the Rams here. It's going to be a big game for Sean McVay to be able to like get things back in order.
So the Falcons are Alexander Gustafsson in your mind, then?
Yes.
Okay.
Even lower than that, if possible.
Did anyone see the coin toss also? Because I kept seeing that meme that said Josh Allen's been waiting weeks to call heads. He's been waiting like 35 weeks to call heads, just I didn't see what he chose.
No, honestly, neither did I. But just they're gonna troll Josh Allen for the rest of time with that.
Until he wins the Super Bowl.
Prop bet. Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah. Oh, just wait until if we do see Bills Chiefs in the playoffs again this year, I promise you there will be prop bets about Josh Allen and the Bills winning.
Yeah. Hey, if they're the one that called us ahead, the coin toss, maybe they're a home team this time.
You know what? Fair, very fair.
That's true.
Man, what a first game that was. And even though it ended in very much a blowout and kind of disappointed us, it's still nice to have football back, boys. And with football back, that means we can finally bring to the people what we teased last week. The Sports Agents of Chaos Pick Challenge is here. It is brand new and already improved because we had to fix the rules before the show today. But the Sports Agents of Chaos Pick Challenge is here. We kind of went over the gist of it last week, but because there are new rules, we're going to review it again. Justin, you have the rules, my man. Give it to the beautiful people.
The only difference is going to be the way we score the games. Instead of doing points based on spread totals, because Sandoval had some issues, we're going to do points based on where you draft the game that you're looking for. So, for example, I'm going to go first. My first drafted game is going to be worth 4 points. And then the next game will be 3 points. The next game will be 2 points. The next game will be 1 point. You have to pick at least one underdog according to the ESPN spreads online on the Saturday at the time that we pick. So we'll have that addressed. So like if I don't take an underdog week with my first round pick, I might be stuck later on. And if you have a perfect week when you get all 4 games correct, you get a bonus point. And you are allowed to pick more than one underdog, in case anyone was wondering. So should I start, boys?
Well, real quick, I just want to say one more thing for the people that were here last week. We do still have the tie rule, ladies and gentlemen, but the thing is that if you want to use the tie, you have to use it on your 4-point game. So
Correct.
You can get 5 points if you correctly predict the tie, but you lose your 4-point game in the process. So it's very much, we still have plenty of risk reward here, guys. And like Justin said, the other rules that are the same from last week is the fact that whoever finishes with the least amount of points on the weekly basis will end up picking last between the 3 of us. Sandoval always gets whatever games are left, which we will get to how we're going to work with Sandoval here once we all pick our teams. But we still have that rule, and it is a snake order every single week. So whoever gets that, and yeah, I think that just about covers everything. So with all the rules set, Justin, you have the inaugural pick in the challenge. This will years down the line when this podcast becomes big. We'll have to ask the OG fans who got the first ever pick in the Sports Agents of Chaos Pick Challenge. The answer,
that'll be one of my trivia questions.
many years down the line, is Justin Zucker. Who we go.
So I was preparing. Because we changed these rules very recently. I was preparing for teams with the spread. So I'm very torn with who I want to pick with my first pick because I don't have to worry about the spread anymore. It makes a big difference.
You're welcome.
Instead of picking a team that like has like a really low spread, like for example, the Panthers and Browns are currently even, I could just pick an outright winner there and I would have gotten 2 points. Now I just have to pick an outright winner, but I could pick a better team with a more favorable matchup. So I believe I'm going to hinge my entire life on a team that is consistently, in the running. And that team is going to be the San Francisco 49ers against the perennially terrible Bears that have not been relevant in a very long time.
Okay. That's not a bad one. We know there are questions about the 49ers going into the season. Of course, George Kittle, I think, is missing week 1, or at least he's not 100% healthy.
I heard he's questionable, but I don't believe he's officially out yet.
Right. So he's dinged up going into week 1. Trey Lance now this is his time to shine. Potentially, we'll see what it is there. But the perfect first opponent, whereas the Rams kind of got unlucky with who their first opponent was. You got the San Francisco 49ers get the Chicago Bears.
I might not have picked that game because the spread is a full touchdown. But, I mean, with no spread, got to go. I think even on defense, they'll like if the 49ers don't play offense, I still think they'd beat the Bears. So
and also that Bears vaunted receiving core just lost to Ellis Jones. So, I mean,
Vaunted is one way. Maybe haunted, but not vaunted.
Maybe something like that, yes.
Some wordplay there. Of course, so Justin got the first pick. That's his 4-point game. We move on to the guy who got the second pick because the Wheel of Chaos gave it to him. But I'm going to end up, I get a little bit of I get some good out of mine, so I'm not too worried. So, Rick, you have the second pick here. Who are you going with your 4-point game? This is a big one here, ladies and gentlemen. Like, in all seriousness, I know we were kind of joking. We did have to adjust these rules because I'm going to keep it real with all you. Me and Rick don't know jack anything when it comes to spreads and stuff. We may have been super confused. Maybe that's why Justin wanted to keep it because he would have just taken advantage of
I don't know anything about spreads either. I'm usually terrible against the spread. But
more than us. You know more than us. But I think the point system is a pretty good compromise. So this is big here. The 4-point game. I think the 4-point games that we go for here is really gonna make a big difference here. So Rick, who is your 4-point game gonna be?
Right. So that begs the question. Then the question really is, if I'm looking at this, do I want to go for an easier win that'll probably get me 4 points, or do I want to try and have a little shout that might get me something a little bit more significant? I tore it between 3 games, but I think I'm going to go with this one only because I feel a little stronger about this. My 4-point win is going to be the Titans over the Giants. I just think that Derrick Henry week 1 is going to be a lot stronger than this Giants defensive core. And I know the Titans don't have, the wide receivers anymore that they used to have, but they still got Treylon Burks that's there. as well. And I like their chances against the Giants team that's kind of a little bit in shambles. We don't really know how much Kenny Golladay is going to play. We're not really sure about Daniel Jones's aspect. Look, the Giants played very well in the preseason. Austin Calitro was a pleasant surprise for them. But I feel like week 1, especially at Tennessee, it's going to be a different challenge mark. So I think for me, I think that's the game that I go with. I mean, I'm not thrilled about it because I had other games in mind, but I think it's just the one that makes the most sense to me. So I go for Tennessee as my 4-point pick.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you bring up a good point with the Titans, and as much as I pray for their downfall this season, it's not coming in week 1 at least, because if they lose to the Giants, I mean, I will say I will be giddier than a child in a candy store. I'll say that much, but at the same time, probably not going to happen in that case. So my turn, and I get back-to-back picks. Love the Thank you, Justin, for the serpentine format. I'm very happy about the fact that we kept that. So like Rick said, I think there are a good amount of games that you could really go with here to be able to have a little bit of fun with. But of course, we want to make the best possible picks with these with our selections, especially these first 2. So with my first pick, my 4-point game, this is a big one here. It's funny because we mentioned that man, if only the other quarterback was healthy, I would maybe downgrade this game. But now that walking schmuck is on the other side, and I know he's had some contract issues, I'm very much confident in this one. I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens over the New York Jets. Sorry, boys.
Yeah,
I got. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with people stealing other people's picks like we did in our 3-round mock where I robbed Rick like 3 times.
I just can't believe you picked against the Jets.
I mean, but the thing obviously too is that it makes the most sense. I mean, since you two are high believers in Lamar Jackson, I think it's the good call to make there.
I mean, to be fair, I think didn't I have the Bengals?
You would think that I would have made that pick first, but
no,
I have a
Justin,
cardinal
because
rule.
I knew you were waiting.
No, I have a cardinal rule. I do not bet on or against the Jets. It never works.
Well, I helped you.
Even if they lose.
Yeah, there you go.
Even if they lose. Someone told me, I got talked into it. I share a pick and pool with someone from work. And they're like, we have to choose the Jets last year. They didn't even have their starting quarterback, and the Bengals were lighting teams up. And guess who won that game?
Jets.
Mike White.
The Jets.
Mike
White led the league in passing that week, and they beat the Super Bowl bound Bengals. And I don't bet against the Jets. It doesn't work.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
That's what happened.
Don't do
it.
So
I'm just hearing thank you from that whole spiel. I'm hearing a thank you. I don't have to make that decision, Jurgen. Then again, maybe Rick would have made the decision with his 3-point pick. Who knows? Speaking of 3-point picks, back around, ladies and gentlemen. So my 3-point game. A couple of games I want to go with here personally because there are some juicy ones here. I'm torn between taking the obvious one, but also I have hyped up this team so much on several podcasts. I kind of feel like I'm bound to have to pick them, so I'm very torn here. Maybe I'll learn if I do end up losing this, which is probable. I will learn in future weeks and make my picks better. But they did destroy this team both times last season, and I don't see that trend switching here. I'm going to go with the Bengals over the Steelers. I've been riding the Bengals preseason hype train this entire time. I have been vouching for them in situations when it's come to talking about like contenders to the Bills. I will continue to do so, and I'm gonna rock with that one. I know the Steelers are a bit of a tougher competition as like the other team, but I got a feeling here. I got a good feeling on this one. So Bengals are my 3-point game.
That's a good shout. I think obviously, I think Joe Burrow's got a really good shot, especially with a rebuilt offensive line there. So I think that's a positive note there. Oh man. So do I want to get really funky with my 3-point pick, or do I possibly want to save it, maybe not having the chance to pick it as an underdog selection? See, the other thing too is that technically speaking, if I take a game that one of you wanted as your 2-point pick, you can't pick that game. So there's a little bit of strategy involved in it as well. 3 points is not really that big of a consequence for me. I'm gonna stun you with my first underdog pick of the week.
Okay.
My 3-point pick is Minnesota over Green Bay.
You know what? I don't blame you.
I just think that it's right for this Vikings team that's got a home field advantage in week 1 to potentially make a little bit of a run, make a little bit of surprise, and kind of put that little scare into Aaron Rodgers' Packers, I think, in week 1. And again, week 1, Sammy Watkins is fine, but who else do they have on the receiving core? There's not really anybody else there. Let Sammy Watkins go 225 yards for all I care. I don't really care. He might. He probably will.
He might go for 300.
But again, as long as that trope about Minnesota kickers can be stuffed by the end of this game, that'll be my 3 points. So I'll go for that, and that's an underdog pick, but I'll go for Minnesota over Green Bay for me.
I think it's very fair, Rick, because I think this the early season is going to be the weakest of what the Packers are, at least offensively. And you also have this is notorious. I think for the last couple of years now, the Packers have struggled in week 1 as a whole. So I think that's a really good pick, honestly. To me, underdog picks are going to be a very tricky thing here. I think it's an unwritten rule between the three of us. I think we're going to try to not be as cheap as can be, and we're going to try to make our underdog picks at least our 2-pointers. I mean, we haven't talked about that. We can make them our 1-pointers.
I almost made it the 4-pointer, to be honest with you.
Make it whatever you think, whatever you believe strongly in.
No, I know, but
I'm going to make mine a 2-pointer coming up.
Oh,
I was going to make it a 3-pointer, but I have to make 2 picks in a row. So why would I put it as a 3-pointer? I'll make it as a 2-pointer.
But what I'm saying is, in terms of spirit of things, for the people understanding
the issue is
we can make
so the way that I saw it is you can save it for your last pick, but realistically, all the good underdogs are probably gone by 1 point anyways.
Very true.
So it's not even a spirit thing; it's a strategy thing. You could pick your underdog as a 1-pointer, but what if you're stuck with I don't know, the
Seahawks?
Yeah. What if you're stuck with the Bears and the 49ers?
Falcons.
What are you gonna do? Yeah. So for my 3-point pick, I am going to choose that Broncos-Seahawks game, but I'm going to choose the Broncos.
I was going to say, wait a second.
Right. Smart.
I'm surprised you guys did not pick that one already. And for my underdog, I'm gonna go. I mean, it wouldn't really be spicy if you've been listening to me all year. I'm gonna choose the Raiders to beat the Chargers week 1 in LA.
Okay.
That's fair. I mean, we said it this entire time going into it. The AFC West is going to cannibalize itself. It's just going to be the first. Who draws blood first is what that game is. So, not shocked there. Also, a good one. Raider. To me, at least of all of them, I feel like Raiders Chargers is the closest matchup on paper between all of them, because the Chiefs, we still have all the questions, and I'm not going to give the Broncos any credence because I don't like Russell Wilson. Let me just be out front with that. So I'm just saying, I think right now Raiders Chargers, that's a pretty close one. So that's a good one. Yeah. See, it's all about reading the lines here, because a team can be an underdog, like we talked about the strategy. A team can technically be an underdog, but if you're confident in that they can win that game, you go for it. So
why not?
So, Rick, we are at your 2-point game.
So again, this is where I'm kind of torn here. I mean, obvious picks aside, that's not why we do this, right? We do this for a little bit of the drama and a little bit of the fun. I'm going to go back to the underdog well again for my 2-point pick. And I'm going to anger a certain somebody in this podcast. But you know what? I just don't care. Lions over the Eagles. That's my 2-point pick. And I think, again, I believe that this Lions team has a lot more in the tank than most people think that they do. I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup. I really want to see how A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith do against Jeff Okudah and Kirby Joseph. I want to see how that goes. Because the other thing, too, is that Philadelphia, they don't have a lot of other depth now in their wide receiver core, because Greg Ward's on the IR. That was your gadget receiver. He's on the IR now. He's out. So you've got Zach Pascal and Quez Watkins. That's it for their main stuff. They might bring up Britton Covey or Devin Allen, but even then, their depth in wide receiver is shot. I mean, so if you stop those two, then you've got a chance to really hamper them and make it just one-dimensional. So I think this could be a surprise result. I like Detroit in this regard here. And again, the only reason why I don't have them as a 2 is because I think it's a little more plausible. Minnesota over Green Bay, I thought was a little more of a reach. But listen, like I said, you got to ride the underdogs when you got them, and that's one of them that I like to win. So I'll take the Lions.
Yeah,
That is your 2, isn't it? That's your 2.
That is my
winner,
2.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Rick's going all in on the underdogs. If our preseason predictions weren't enough with some of the teams he has winning divisions.
Damn right.
So let's not be surprised here. All right, so now my back-to-back picks. My last 2 picks, my 2-pointer, my 1-pointer. This should be interesting. All right, because Rick, you're doing the bookkeeping here, and you're doing a fabulous job with it.
Thank you.
Have the Colts been taken yet? Please just
They have not been taken yet.
They have not been taken yet. Okay.
No.
What if I go a complete 1-8? No, okay. Wouldn't that be just funny?
Davis Mills.
Davis Mills. No.
I will say this though. I think if I'm looking at everything clearly, so Justin, I believe you have one underdog pick. You have the Raiders.
Yes.
This is going to be my underdog. Like my next pick is my underdog. Like this 2-pointer is my underdog.
So Jared, this will be your underdog for admin purposes only.
Yeah. Okay. We talked about these 2 games earlier on in the Would You Rather between the Chiefs Cardinals and the Buccaneers Cowboys. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 games where like you want to talk about liking what the underdog could be. I think those are 2 games here where you'll be cool if whichever one you pick as your underdog at the end of the day, right? Because they're more than plausible that the Cowboys can win that game against Tampa. And more than plausible that the Cardinals can take advantage of the Chiefs here early in the season. It's tough because with both of these games on another podcast, I have gone a certain way with picking them. And whichever one I pick for my underdog, I have to go against my thought process on the other pod that I do. So I'm kind of breaking my own code here, which I really don't like to do often. But I see the other underdogs. I just don't like them enough. So earlier I did pick the Cardinals for the Would You Rather. And I know Brady's Brady, but goddamn, Patrick Mahomes gives me nightmares. When I have sleep paralysis demons, I don't see demons. I see Patrick Mahomes after I have picked against him in a week. So I'm actually going to be bold here. I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for my underdog pick here.
Okay.
I'm going to go with that in part because, like I said, sleep paralysis demons. Because for me, I see Patrick Mahomes as my sleep paralysis. Rudy Gobert sees Luka Doncic as sleep paralysis demons. So we gotta try to mitigate that as much as we can. I'm saying that because I thought you were
going with Rudy Gobert sees a microphone that has COVID on it as a sleep paralysis.
That's what I was gonna say.
No, it's Luka Doncic. If you saw the highlights, if you saw the highlights from like the EuroBasket tournament that's going on, Luka Doncic just absolutely torched Rudy Gobert so many times. So
yes, that's fair.
I mean, you can have multiple sleep paralysis demons,
of course.
Just saying, Luka Doncic. And then my 1-pointer, since I've now used my underdog, I'm free to use my 1-pointer. It's funny because I probably would have thought this could have been a 3 or a 4-pointer, but I think because we mentioned it earlier in the show, they haven't won in week 1 in a while. But I'm going to go with them because they should win this week 1. I don't see a reason why they lose this week 1. I'm going to go with the Colts over the Texans as my final pick, as my 1-pointer. For the 1-pointer, it's like, yes, it's just a point, but I'd like to try to get the safest possible pick if I can. And
it seems like a sure thing, but the Colts haven't won an opening day game in 8 years.
That's what I'm saying. It's dropped down, I think, to a 1-pointer for that reason.
Right.
But of all the remaining games, it's still the one I have the most confidence in. In my games that I've picked, it's the least confident one. But for what's left, I got the most confidence in that one. So I got Colts over Texans.
So I gotta say this then. That leaves a really, really interesting last bit of games that are left to be chosen in this regard.
Go over them?
Sure. So you've got New England, Miami. You've got Jacksonville, Washington. Cleveland, Carolina. Kansas City, Arizona. And New Orleans, Atlanta. So that's what's remaining. So I think there's one that I might be missing as well, but I'm not 100% certain on that. So then, I mean, obviously the Rams Bills won. So the obvious choice here, I think, would be to go with the Rams, not the Rams, the Saints, I should say, because I think that would get you an easy 1 point in theory. And Justin, if you want to take that one, I'm going to lock that one up for you because that's not what I'm doing. Listen, y'all know me. Y'all know where this is going.
Of course.
Washington over Jacksonville. Thank you very much.
Been waiting for that all episode.
Yeah,
Washington over Jacksonville. Thank you very much. Look, this is a game that I think could be a real surprise. It could be a real close one because I think both teams are vastly improved from last year. But I just think that Washington's got a little more in the tank to go and win that game. And I think that it's a case where this is going to start them off on the right foot. So I think that that's really the big key there for them. I would give Washington that in a heartbeat. So that's my 1 point. And again, 1 point because if it doesn't happen, it's no real consequence. If it happens, great, I'll take it. So,
revenge game for Carson Wentz.
Which then actually leaves us with an interesting conundrum here because that means there are 4 games left. So Sandoval has 3 games. So whichever ones that Justin doesn't take will be his by law. As Jerg's blind goes by the wayside. So, yeah.
All right. So, if it was a spread game, it's funny because I really loved the Steelers against the 7-point spread. I think their defense is just so strong, and I think they can hold Cincinnati to a less than 7-point victory. But outright, I think that the Saints have a much better chance of winning their game. So I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints over the Atlanta Falcons. I expect a lot from them this year, and it's going to be going to have to go with the Saints over the Falcons.
That's a fair one, and also one that some people may have thought that we would have put that as a 2. I'm not going to lie, I actually briefly thought of it for my underdog. Because I think early in the season is probably the Falcons' best chance to maybe get one of their sneak wins here. And I think the same, to me, and this might ultimately come down to, I think early on right now, Michael Thomas, I don't know what's going on with him. Quarterback situation. Jameis had another infamous quote this week, so about the human body and anatomy. And just, again, me personally, and if he proves me wrong, he proves me wrong. But Dennis Allen, we just went over those Saints stats earlier in the episode with when they were great. That was Sean Payton. Sean Payton not there anymore. Sean Payton not going to walk through that door. It's Dennis Allen, and you could try to run the same offense, but he doesn't have the same mind to me as Sean Payton. So I'm going to have doubts about Dennis Allen until further notice.
That makes sense.
That's for me. So we have our.
Who's everyone got?
We have a 4 games.
So here it is. Week 1. My picks are 4 points Tennessee, 3 points Minnesota, 2 points Detroit, 1 point Washington. Jerg's are 4 points Baltimore, 3 points Cincinnati, 2 points Dallas, and 1 point Indianapolis. Justin's 4 points San Francisco, 3 points Denver, 2 points Vegas, 1 point New Orleans, and Sandoval's 3 points Miami over New England, 2 points Arizona over Kansas City, 1 point Cleveland over Carolina.
There we go.
So there you have it.
Sandoval going to end up with 1 point.
Watch us all have 5 and he has 6.
Yeah, well, and again, that would mean that he would have 7 on a perfect week. So there you go, because that's 3-2-1. So
that damn deer.
The damn deer.
If it's probably gonna happen to me if I finish below Sandoval at the end of the season, I might retire from making picks with football for the regular season.
I mean,
that would be
saying that right now. Yeah, it'll be quick, 1 and done.
Yeah, that would be rough.
Because I give Justin all the props in the world for being bested by the deer on a weekly basis in times of trivia. If I lose to a deer in season predictions, I may not show my face on the pod for a week or 2. So
right. No, saying. I mean, listen, I think you would hide behind the same smoke screen that the Wizard of Oz hid behind, basically. So
Yes, or just tape myself against the wall with the same tape that I'm using to hold up my curtains.
Well, maybe can't win them all.
Speaking of things falling apart in front of all of us, ladies and gentlemen, these things, the luster behind these shiny objects, if you had good thoughts about these organizations, laws, companies, whatever you think it might be, it's going to be changed after this because, per usual, to end the show, we do have the rant podium. The rant podium is coming here in a few moments. But before that, of course, we need to do a proper bow tie on this. The pick challenge week 1 has been completed. We have made our picks, and now we wait. Boys, How what we thinking about the picks overall? How confident are we?
I mean, I would say that I think we've kind of stuck to picks that could make sense, or picks that we believed, which I think was good. I don't think there's anything that any of us kind of went like shocked over. Maybe Detroit or Philadelphia for me was kind of the one, but I think we'll see. I mean, your Dallas over Tampa Bay could be an interesting one. You never know. I mean, I was the one who said Mike McCarthy could be in the hot seat last week, so you never know.
Which is fair.
Yeah, which was very fair. So we'll see. I think, like I said, I think there's some good shouts here, and it's just going to be exciting when they kick off tomorrow afternoon when we figure all this out and go from there, and then start our standings.
I'm actually curious, Rick. You definitely watched back last episode. Whose takes were you just like what the over the hot takes that between me and Justin last week?
Your takes were both terrible. they were just both indiscriminate and horrific, and I was just appalled. I was simply appalled with the two of you.
So that means he didn't listen to last week.
Not a chance. Well, I was trying to drive, and then I got caught up, and then I had to get on the phone with WeTransfer because that whole messed up. So it was tricky. But just for the record, just to remind you all again, it was in fact Sean Alexander, as I mentioned, and I think that was pre-Madden curse.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know who's on the game this year. Who's on the cover this year? Do you guys know who's on the cover this year?
I wouldn't be able to tell you.
So,
I mean, I'll look it up real quick. Justin, your thoughts on the picks we made this week for week 1 of the challenge?
No! Before you do that, it's actually John Madden, so there will be no curses here because he's already dead.
Right. Well, we know EA and what they love to do and try to take advantage of things and use a great man's memory to try to sell their merchandise. It's not surprising.
Very true. Very true.
Which, by the way, that game is still. We rarely curse on this pod because we try to be family friendly. I'm just saying this right now. That game is still dog shit. Like Madden is still bad. I'm saying that right up the front. I pull no punches with EA Sports. It's bad. Just saying.
Oh boy.
Just saying.
Oh boy. It's Sorry, kids of the world.
Yeah.
We're not getting that sponsorship.
Uncle Jurg went a little rogue there. I apologize.
I'm
drafting a letter now to apologize to EA and the Focus on the Family or whoever watches this podcast.
No apologies. If we're not going to have Coke as a potential sponsor, let me clarify, Coca-Cola as a potential sponsor in the future, we ain't having EA either. I'm not standing by that.
Just for that argument, I did find the marshmallow Coke cans with the strawberry watermelon. I haven't created the video because I was too chicken to buy them, but I'm going to buy them this week and try it and send you a video so we can enjoy it next week.
There we go. Justin, I feel like we trampled over anything that you had to say if you were about to say it. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a little weirded out that I went 49ers over Broncos as my first pick. I feel like that was probably the less safe pick.
No, he meant like teams. Like he picked the 49ers instead of the Broncos.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you're going to confuse the Broncos and the Bears like you confuse Burrow and Herbert, we've got a whole other thing planned.
Yeah, I was, but I guess they're both good picks. I'm pretty confident. I think I got some good teams. So there was one or two that I felt, I was a little slighted. I was going to pick those teams, but that's what it is.
Well, do you think the Raiders I think the big thing, I think the 2.1 is an interesting one, Justin, because I think it's so it is so even. Do you think the Raiders defense, how do you simply put, do you think the Raiders defense is going to make a big difference? How big of a difference will they make in that game? Is the pass rush going to get to the quarterback?
Well, yeah, to me, the big thing with the Chargers this year is going to be how well their offensive line meshes, and now you got two heavy pass rushers there in Max Crosby and Jones from Arizona that they just got there. So they did make some trades. They addressed their secondary as well. They're going to have to cover a lot, but if they can get after Justin Herbert just a little bit and stop some of those weapons from getting a chance to touch the ball, they're going to put up points. It's just going to happen. There's no way Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller and a healthy Josh Jacobs for one game is not going to do, at least some damage against any team in the NFL.
Right. Very, very true. By the way, because we didn't get to mention it with the analysis and talking, happy contract extensions to Dawson Knox and Darren Waller, by the way. Two guys just got way more rich. Very, very happy for them.
Yeah.
We're all about that on the show. We love seeing people secure the bag. Speaking of
sure.
securing things, if we talk about, we kind of joked with sponsors earlier. If any segment on the show is ever going to get sponsored at some point, we know what the segment's going to be. Rick, podium's yours. We end the show every week on this. You already know how it goes. Please give us this week's rant podium.
Well, one of my stories I'm considering retracting only because he just got hurt. But I'm a soulless human being. We all know this, so we're going to keep it in here anyways. There are 5 that I'm looking at, but I'm going to try and narrow it down to 3, but I have 2 quick honorable mentions. Honorable mention number 1, Princeton University is now free for families who are making under $100,000. Where the hell was this when I went to college? I would have gone to Princeton on a free ride. Are you kidding me? An Ivy League school on a free ride? I say that because my mother was civil service. My dad owns his own business. Technically, it would have worked. So, I would have been able to go for free. I mean, it's Princeton. I would have been an Ivy League snob, but I would have been a free Ivy League snob without any college loans. It would have been great.
I'm trying to imagine the alternate universe where we meet the Princeton version of Rick.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you today? Yes.
Yeah, let's cancel that. Let's go back to the podium.
Exactly. So that's honorable mention number 1. Honorable mention number 2. I want to go back to the Bills-Rams game because did you guys see Isaiah McKenzie's touchdown celebration? Yes, where he screamed into the camera, "It's a boy," which was the gender reveal for his sister's baby. So 2 things here. 1, what if he was wrong? And 2, what if he never scored a touchdown? What was your plan B, Isaiah McKenzie? What was your plan B? Were you going to just jump on the field at some point? Like, it's a boy, going around like that? Like again and again. I've seen it happen where you could be wrong or they bring the wrong information. What if it was wrong? What if it was a girl 9 months later? Like, oops, that's a problem. So a little bit of a tough celebration, but fine. That's fine. Now into the main show. Number 3. I'll go with Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers. Yes, he just got hurt in the game against Alabama today, but so in week 1 of the college football season, Texas beat Louisiana Monroe 52-10. And Quinn Ewers decided to rise to the game in style. Now, the name, image, and likeness deal that we all know about in colleges, Quinn Ewers received an Aston Martin for his NIL deal. And it was towed because he did not park in the proper spot. So there's a lot of things to the story that I want to touch on. Number 1, how do you not know where to park? Number 2, University of Texas Public Safety. How do you not know the car belongs to your starting quarterback? Number 3, why are you driving the car to the game at all? You're supposed to be there with the team together. Like you're just starting for Texas now. Number 4, this is an Aston Martin with a burnt orange leather interior, which is ridiculous. Which leads to part B, what if he transfers? Then he's got to bring that car with him in the burnt orange leather to where? A school that doesn't have burnt orange in its colors. And listen, the NIL deals I think were designed for Dakota's Crawford, the air conditioning commercial, Chef's Kiss, beautiful. Bijan Robinson of I think Alabama, who's got the honey mustard sauce deal, also really good. Perpetuity, I like that. But an Aston Martin with burnt orange leather interior, it runs out after a bit. It's not a thing you can have like full time. You can't be known as the guy who had the AC commercial. You're known as the guy who had a car once that you sullied with a freaking burnt orange leather interior. Roger Moore and Sean Connery are rolling over in their graves because that is their baby that you just sullied with the damn orange interior. Ridiculous, Quinn Ewers. Like, first of all, again, know how to park and know where to park. That's important. Number 2, obviously, we all know that the very sad news that happened this week about Queen Elizabeth II's passing. And what I found very interesting was that everything about a royal family member's passing is, put down to the fine details. They know how many guns they're going to shoot off, who's going to go here, who's the succession line, where the funeral is going to be, when the funeral is going to be. Well, here's a sad but funny story. So as you will probably know, the Queen had a bunch of corgis, the little fluffball dogs that have very short legs that don't look like dogs at all. They look like, what would happen if you drew a dog in first grade. They don't have a plan for what's going to happen to the corgis. There's no plan. In the line of succession, you had 70 years to figure this out, and you don't know where the corgis are going to go. Like, you had 70 years to plan out every single other thing, and no one seemed to think, what Elizabeth's corgis. What about those? What about the dogs? What are we going to put with them? Like, really? They're corgis. They're adorable, but plan this out better, Britain. Come on. I know you just lost your queen mom. I feel very sad. It's a big loss, but plan your stuff better. Like, if you have dogs, know where they're going to go after you die. Please, just do that. Number 1, let's go to Oregon. There is a national forest named the Umpqua National Forest in Oregon, which is like all the way in the netherly regions of Oregon. I think it's where the duck from the Oregon University of Oregon decides to go in the off season. Somebody, an 81-year-old hiker, was looking at a map, just trying to figure out where she was going, and she spotted the mountain, and she wanted to know what the mountain was called. And she saw what it was called and then started the petition to change the name of the mountain. Why this hasn't been done sooner, to me, is a surprise. It's called Mount Swastika. Yeah. First of all, I didn't know Nazis traveled that far to Oregon. Like, that's a surprise. Secondly, why was that ever approved in the first place? Apparently it was named after a local cattle ranch in the early 1900s, which brings up a whole other issue. The mountain was so unwell known that the name stuck for hundreds of years until finally somebody was like, we should probably change this. From a guy wearing a Washington football team hat, we should probably change the name of the mountain, shouldn't we? It's not really a good thing to have in the history. If we're changing all the symbols, names in the Confederacy and all the names of the church, mountains like Mount McKinley got changed to Denali back to its original like Inuit or Eskimo name. How did this one slip through our fingers? Government. Like, how did that slip through? Oregon. Because, we didn't know where it was. It's in your goddamn state. So how about you get your cartographer or your forestry park rangers who don't really do much without their lives other than look at trees and rocks and streams to change the name of the damn mountain so that you can figure it all out. That's terrible. That's a horrible, horrible thing. I'm glad it's being changed. I'm glad that it's going to have a new name. I can't wait to hear what the new name's going to be. It's probably going to be Mountain Lee Corso because, he has a weird fetish with the Oregon duck. I don't know what it is, but, whatever, regardless. So that would be a great one, too. Regardless of any of that, that is your rant podium for the week. And there are 3 truths to everything. Duncan sucks. Kevin Durant is an unloyal moron. And of course, Adam Rank's Bears take sucked. Fight me.
Wow. Or are we really surprised something like that slipped past Oregon of all places? Like,
by the way, on the Kevin Durant point, did you see what Steph Curry said recently too? Steph Curry said he valued the title that he just won more than the ones he won with Kevin Durant.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Because everything is sweeter without Kevin Durant in it.
Well, that and also at the same time, the injuries and all that probably meant a lot more. But we could also go with that.
Let's talk about Kevin Durant.
Before we end the episode, ladies and gentlemen, because of course, as we know, the rants end it all. We have a uniform change here. Justin, you're not low. We know that you
got to rep your team. Got to do it, even if it's for 30 seconds at the end. Got to rep the team.
Yeah, see? Team.
You're a fraud fan, Rick. Come on.
Hey, no. If this was a Patriots hat, you have absolutely every right to say that. But if this was a Patriots hat, I would be divorced.
I said rep your team, and you pulled out the Commanders hat. That's all I'm saying.
No, I called out the football team hat.
It's still the football team to him, damn it.
Actually, that brings up another solid point here. Justin's got a jersey. I've got a jersey in my closet. Iceman, Jurg, you don't have a football jersey.
Yeah, I don't own a football jersey.
I think by but I think by proxy we have to get you a football jersey of some kind. Even before the end of the year when we have the rankings.
Well, come on. If Jurg loses and his first football jersey ever is a Cole Strange jersey, I think that trumps everything.
We can't use that word. We can't use that word.
But irregardless, well, the Cole Strange thing, the Cole Strange jersey is all based off of the standings thing. We don't have anything for the picks challenge yet of who comes dead last. So we'll see about that. So We'll work on it. But
see, Justin, he's trying.
Considering some of the divisional picks, I'm not too worried about finishing last.
I think Sandoval's judging you, Jerry, because you're weaseling your way out of getting the Cole Strange jersey.
I'm not weaseling my way. If I finish last, I will get the Cole Strange jersey. It'll be a waste of money, but yes, I will get the Cole Strange jersey. Now, am I worried about that? I will have to get that jersey. Once again, considering some of the divisional picks, no.
Wait. It will only be a waste of money if you don't get the Cole Strange alternate Patriots jersey with the old Patriot logo on the side of it, the white one with like the Patriot actually there.
Okay, that I would actually get.
Yeah, see, because that's repping something rare and unique. That can be kind of fun.
Which also, to be fair, that is part like we do get a Cole Strange jersey. We never said which one we got to get. We can get some.
Well, I thought it had to be a Cole Strange Patriots jersey.
Oh no, it'll be Patriots. But I'm just saying, like the different Patriots uniforms that they have. You could get
no, Justin. I'm going to buy him a Cole Strange Tennessee Chattanooga jersey.
That would actually be pretty dope.
You do what you got to do, Rick.
Yeah. Hey, listen. Got the money.
Yeah, woo! This actually fun fact, ladies and gentlemen. I am part of a football podcast. I also do another podcast where we're going to be talking about football a lot, and I don't have a football jersey. So.
Well, they don't play a lot of football in Albania, so there's that too.
I don't even think Albanians know what football is, American-wise.
Association football.
Oh. Well, I mean, they know soccer. We don't do anything in soccer, but we know soccer at least.
You know about it.
Yeah. And yes. That's where the extent of the knowledge is. Speaking of the extent of the knowledge, that is the extent of this week's episode, ladies and gentlemen. The Sports Agents of Chaos podcast, episode number 24, has come to an end.
Come have your cameo. Okay, there you are.
Big things have happened this week, ladies and gentlemen. We had fun in trivia once again. We had our fun Would You Rather. Talked about a big Thursday night game. And, of course, the pick challenge begun. And we ended with an adorable doggo on the screen. We have everything in this. The only thing that would have made this episode perfect for one of the people here is if he finally would have gotten to beat Sandoval in trivia. But he didn't do that yet this week. Will it happen in a future week? Who knows? We'll see. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Continue to join us on this weekend basis. Saturday, for the most part, is going to be the day where we try to record our episodes. Depending on scheduling, maybe could it be changed up a little bit? Might. But for the most part, Saturday is our goal. And that's what we're going to do on a weekly basis. We're going to be here. We're going to talk football. We're going to make picks. We're just going to have a grand old time because at the end of the day here at the SAOC podcast, we like to have fun. We like to talk football. And we like to spread just a little bit of chaos. Thank you all so much for joining us this week. And as always, we will see you guys